Steve here, heavenlysign2017.com. One of my viewers was asking why in the Revelation 12 sign we did not see the dragon. You know, we see all of the other components, but we don't see the dragon. You see those of you who are familiar with the sign are familiar with all of the symbols, so I don't need to go through all that. But you know, where's the great red dragon in the Revelation 12 sign? You know, we see the woman, but we don't see the dragon. The great red dragon is not a mystery. John identifies it as Satan. I think we can pretty much surmise that, you know, Satan himself is not going to appear in the constellation on the day of the sign. He's probably too busy working around Planned Parenthood. But so could John have seen, or let's say, you know, could John have seen this guy? Or in John's vision, could he have seen this guy? No. Or how about this guy? No. Or perhaps this guy? No. Could be just maybe he saw my dog Scotty, or my sister's dog. Yeah, maybe. All right, enough joking around. What do we know? Well, John says that there appeared these signs in heaven, not the heavens, plural, as in sky or in the constellations. I think this is a distinction that's worthy of note. Heaven is the location of his vision. It's not our perspective, not where we're looking. It's his vision. But that makes sense, because John was caught up to heaven where the vision occurred. Now this is where the vision took place. Now we know that God knew that no literal manifestation of a great red dragon would appear in Stellarium 1.1.0 or any other planetary software. God knew the alignment of the sun, moon, and stars on the day of the sign would only appear once in 7,000 years in perfect alignment on this date of the sign. And he also knew that there would be nothing that would appear as a literal confirmation of the dragon symbol. Or would it? Well, we know that the constellation Draco is really nowhere close to standing before the woman about to give birth on the date of the sign, September 23rd, 2017. Neither does it have 7 heads and 10 horns. Serpens is better in position to be a candidate for the dragon, but neither does it have 7 heads and 10 horns. Nor does it stand before the woman. You know, once again, let me remind you that this is John's vision. He's not looking at it from our perspective. He's looking at it from heaven, where he was caught up. So it's doubtful that John's referring to either one of these constellations. Besides, constellations don't sweep a third of the stars to the earth. Now we know that whatever this thing is, it drags or sweeps a third of the stars of heaven to the earth. Now may I suggest that it may not even be necessary that the dragon visibly appear to us on earth as a sign, except in the sense of what the dragon does with his tail, which is to drag a third of the stars to the earth. That what God's wanting us to know here is that the earth will undoubtedly receive this 1/3 of stars, whether that they be meteors, or whether this symbolism represents a third of the angels that fell from heaven. You know, so what are the stars? Well, in a previous video I demonstrated how that I didn't think that the stars could refer to Satan's angels being cast out of heaven, since that event takes place later in the text. And you know, it totally appears to be out of sequence and out of context with the events that John is describing here. Now, if somebody, say, wants to argue that this describes a past historical eviction of fallen angels from heaven after creation, I'd argue that such a suggestion is completely out of context in Revelation 12. Or is it? Well, we do know that prophecy can have multiple layers. We know Satan's forceful eviction from heaven is a chief cause of the Great Tribulation. Jesus, referring to his upcoming crucifixion in John chapter 12, used the word now when he said, "Now the prince of this world will be driven out." Well, 2,000 plus years has passed since that time, so by this we can see that Jesus is viewing such an event as one that has already occurred from his perspective, from the perspective of eternity, in which he's looking at all this, in which time does not exist. But Satan was also cast out of heaven after creation. Is Jesus really showing John that Satan casts a third of his angels to earth before he stands before the woman who is yet to give birth? Or is Jesus showing John that some planet X drags meteors in its tail to impact a third of Earth's surface before he stands before the woman who has yet to give birth? In the first case, we have Earth pummeled by a whole lot of demons before the rapture of the church, and in the other scenario, we have massive meteor impacts prior to the rapture of the church. And that depending on whether we view the 1/3 of stars mentioned as fallen angels or meteors. Or could it be they are one and the same thing, sort of like shape-shifting meteor demons? I guess we'll find out soon enough. Alright, I've made a few charts here that I think maybe might sort of give us some insight into the question as to why we don't see a dragon. Now, I want you to look at this. Look at this very carefully. What I've done is in blue, I have circled all of the nouns. Okay, and I want you to just kind of follow me through on this. You've got woman, feet, head, crown, child, heads, horns, crowns, heads. Great. There's the great red dragon. Earth, dragon, woman, child, 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 God, place, days, throne, God, nations, woman, rod of iron, wilderness. Okay, here's my question to you. Do you see any of that in the Stellarium software? Do you see anything circled in blue? When we look at the sign, do you see, whether you're looking at it through Stellarium or you're looking at it in real time, tell me, where do we see any of that? Well, the answer is we don't. And I think this is a really important factor to consider. Now, what I've circled in black is what we do see. And if you notice what we do see, that's very interesting, because what we do see is three things. We see sun, moon, and stars. Now let's look at this next chart. In Matthew 24 and Mark 13, we read, "And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars." And most of you are familiar with this passage. Notice that the same three are there: sun, moon, and stars. The same three, the only three that we see in the previous chart that we looked at. Even when we look back in Genesis, on the fourth day, we see sun, moon, and stars, where God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven," there's your heaven, "to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." Sun, moon, and stars. Now, if we let Scripture interpret Scripture, we also know from the text that the dragon is Satan. There was war in heaven, Michael and his angels waging war with the dragon, and the great dragon was thrown down, the serpent of old, who was called the devil and Satan. But I also want you to take note of the fact that it goes on to say, "Now the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ have come, for the accuser of our brethren has been thrown down, The accuser of our brethren has been thrown down, he who accuses them before our God day and night. Okay, this is a direct reference, or not a reference as much, but this is a direct proof given us of the fact that Satan is still, at the present time, before God's throne, accusing the brethren day and night, and will be until he's cast down. So again, looking at our noun chart, what we really see is that the literal things that we really only see literally are the sun, moon, and stars. We don't see a woman, we don't see a child, we don't see a crown, we don't see we don't see the earth. Okay, we don't see a man-child. We don't see nations. We don't see wilderness. We don't see God. We don't see days. And we don't see horns or heads. We don't see a great red dragon. We don't see that. That's my point. If this video has encouraged you to put more thinking into your studies, please like, share, and subscribe. And if it has left you frustrated because I'm left scratching my head over where the dragon is, well, click like on it anyway. But at least for the time being, I'm going to suggest that what the world will see occur at the time these signs occur in the heavens is what we're already hearing about, which has to do with why our Earth, as well as our solar system, has undergone strange and abnormal changes and cosmic disturbances, and why they've been chemtrailing us to death, and why the elites are building underground cities instead of spending money they don't have rebuilding our nation's infrastructure. Until next time, this is Steve, and as usual, keep thinking, keep looking up, and thanks for watching.